Welcome to Ellie Chat. Your home for exclusive news and commentary on the internet's only podcast about Candlepin bowling. Brought to you by the Lords of Candlepin, Frank DeLuca and Rich Lamoni. Email the show at allychat.frankface.net. Now broadcasting from the heart of the Bay State, the host of Alley Chat, FrankFace.
Hi everyone, this is FrankFace from Alley Chat. This is going to be an Alley Chat editorial opinion. We're going to be discussing, and by we, I mean the wonderful Kyle Bruce and the excellent, most excellent Rich Lamoni. We're going to be giving our opinions on who the best anchor bowler is in the Friday Night Pro League. So Rich, welcome first of all.
How you doing, Frank?
Welcome, Kyle. Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Doing wonderfully.
Great, as you always are, I hope.
Yes.
Rich, can you give us a rundown of who all the anchors are for each of the 15 Friday teams?
All right. So there are some teams that vary their lineups, but for the most part, these guys have been the anchors. Lucky has Jeff Surrett as their anchor. Central Park Lanes has Chris Sargent. Academy 3 has Dave Godwin. Academy 2 has John McDonald. 20th Century Lanes has Bob Wickham. Academy 1 has Chris Sacchetti. Ron's Ice Cream has Dan Lasko. Malden 1 has Brian Fournier. Metro 2 has TJ DePietro. Riverwalk Lanes, I believe, is Mark Rishi. I know they've had some lineup changes, but I think he had it for most of the beginning of the year. Metro 1 is Chris Powers. Norwood is Mike Legender. Woburn 2 is Artie Gendro. Malden 2 is Dennis Nuzzo, and rounding out the group, Woburn 1 is Mike Machichi.
Okay.
What do you think, Kyle?
My choice is Sarge. And
Okay.
I say that because I've seen him personally many times be in a situation where he needs 2 marks to win a match, and he does it. I've seen him win the night he was Pro Bowl of the Year the first time. That actually might have been at Lucky, now that I think about it. And he needed a big 10th to win that, to become Bowler of the Year, and he did it. After the first 9, he was kind of treading water a bit. I've seen him on TV do it. He can take that mindset to any house, I believe. He knows how to make those adjustments. He's been doing it for over 20 years, and he just has that mindset. And the part of being the anchor is being able to not really let the pressure get to you and throw the same ball that you've been throwing the entire match. And it doesn't matter what the score is, he makes the adjustments and he comes through time after time. And that's why I'd go with Sarge.
He could be the best single shooter I've ever seen. He doesn't miss them for spares. Gets them all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris is one of the best ever. I don't think that's a stretch. I'm not sure if he's as good as his dad was, only because his dad had so many more opportunities to show his skills. The game was so much different then. But in terms of what it's been since like 92 or whenever it was when he started with Sunnyside on Fridays, he's got to be on that very short list, if not at the top. He's just amazing.
Kyle, can I interject and ask you to, what constitutes Bowler of the Year? I'm not familiar with that.
Pro Bowler of the Year was when the WCBC had their Pro Tour.
Okay.
That this was the bowler that what they would do. I'm trying to think of how many tours they had at that point in time, because they'd scaled it back a bit. And I think they were still doing 10 strings.
Okay. For each tournament.
Correct.
Right.
And it was the number of pins that you had the number of pins you had
accumulated.
Thanks. I was looking for that verb and it eluded me. It's the number of pins that you'd accumulated over your best tours. So after you dropped one, that was the best total that he had. And it's amazing to consider how many guys have. I mean, it's crazy to think of just winning that once. Yeah, it's true that when his dad was bowling in, there were 200 guys bowling in the tour then, and maybe when Chris was in there, that was cut in half or maybe into a third. Mm-hmm. But it's still an amazing accomplishment.
Sure.
So that's Pro Bowl of the Year. I know the Pro Series is done a little differently, but I guess that's the next best equivalent to what the tour used to be.
And I think, Rich, you can probably correct me if I'm wrong. That goes by how many points you accumulate over the regulation season.
Yes, not in the playoffs.
Right,
Bowler of the Year is just the person that has the most points over all the tournaments.
Okay. All right, Kyle. I think I'm going to go next. I kind of want to toss it up between two bowlers, but I don't know if I should do that. Prior to choosing one or before choosing one, I'm going to tell you those two bowlers. I think either Dave Godwin for me or Bobby Whitcomb of 20th Century. I think at this point in time, I'm going to have to go with Bobby Whitcomb just because Dave's so young. Time and again, we've seen Bobby Whitcomb need, like Kyle said with Sarge, 2 marks to finish off. And he almost always gets them, no matter what the deficit is. If it's 1 pin that he needs, or if it's 25 pins that he needs in the last 2 boxes, Bobby Witt's pretty dependable to get those 2 marks, whether it's strikes or spares. Nothing phases him. He's one of my favorite bowlers. I've said that before. He's also a great guy, but I just think that over the years he's been on TV, Channel 50 so many times. I don't know if he was around for Channel 5. I think he might be a little young for that. He's just always spot on, and I've never seen a guy so unfazed by pressure. I think he's just so dependent and so reliable to pull through for the team and for himself. My choice probably going to be Bobby Witt.
This is the thing, though. I mean, with the 3 of our opinions, there's no wrong answer. I mean, if we had a team to put in at any house, these guys are going to bowl fantastic at any house that you have that's in the 15 teams. So it's just, and hard to argue with Bobby Witt. He's amazing. The average, what is he, 27, I think?
Something like that. And I think last year he was around 30.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It really is. So, hard to argue with that opinion.
Well, Rich?
I tend to agree with Frank, actually.
Okay.
I think Bobby Witt, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. If you need the pins, Bobby Witt can do it. And so can Surratt, and so can Sarge, and Lasko, any of them. That's why they bowl anchor. But what I saw at the playoffs our first year was some of the most ridiculous bowling I've ever witnessed in my life. And Bobby Witt needed a spare to seal up first place for them because there was a 1-string roll-off with Pilgrim 2, which was Surratt's team. And he had 3 and 1. I think he had the 3, 6, 7, 10. And he missed it for a spare, but he made it for the 10 and threw like a 94 string. He just had nothing in the middle room at Academy. He proceeded to go into the left room where the pros bowl, and I think he went 1250 for 9 strings.
Wow.
He went 3 back-to-back 400s, all 3, back-to-back-to-back. It's like 409, 420, crazy, and then he carried them for that entire match, and he saw red, and they were flying that day. It was some of the best bowling I've ever witnessed. I think the question begs, you have to break it down and say, of the bowlers, who is the highest potential to throw a double strike when you need it? And out of the bowlers listed, I would say Godwin. At this stage, I feel like Godwin throws more doubles than anyone that I've seen, just the way his ball works.
Wow, so we're exactly on the same page, Rich.
But if I needed someone to bowl technically, I would want Surrett to make my shot. You know, I watched him bowl at Big 20 for the Skins tournament, and it was the best I'd ever seen Surrett bowl. If there was a piece of wood that he needed to use, every single shot went. And I mean, they weren't easy shots by any stretch of the imagination. He needed to cut them all the way across a plate. It wasn't like it was just a single with it leaning up against it and you just hit it. So, I mean, Surrett, I think, is just such a technical bowler that it depends on what you're actually basing your choice on. So I think overall, in the scheme of things, I think Wickham is the complete package compared to those three bowlers.
Hard to argue with that. As I said before, the great thing about the game now is that you have guys like Godwin, Boudreau, the younger guys that are very, very explosive. And all it takes really is, I think, just some experience and just the belief that they can get it done at any time. The same ball that they threw to start the string can be done at the end. And once that realization comes in and that kind of calmness and poise that comes with being an anchor bowler, then, they'll be at the forefront of this discussion.
Agreed.
The future of the game is bright, and I'm glad that we're talking about it. And like anything, there's an evolution to the process, the new blood that's come into the game that's given Candlepin a shot in the arm. And we're in the midst of that right now. So it's one thing to have the mechanics and to have the numbers. It's another thing to do it when the money's on the table. That's what separates the anchor bowlers that are in this discussion with maybe some of the guys that aren't quite there yet, and you might want to hide into the third spot on the team. Who knows? As long as you keep working at it and making your shots, like Rich was saying, some teams juggle the lineup all the time. Others, maybe that are more experienced, been around longer, they have their set routine, and that's how they go in.
20th Century's had the same lineup for 2 straight years.
Yeah, I don't think I have never seen them change their lineup.
Yeah, and it's not an ego thing. It's just you get comfortable in a role, and that's how they approach every Friday night, and that's how, once you have that consistency and you know what is expected of you, that's why they're so tough.
Always. They always have been.
I think they changed it the day after Craig came back from hernia surgery. It's like he bowled the next day.
No.
And I think they moved him to like second for that night or something. He may have bowled fourth. I don't remember. He probably still bowled fourth.
Yeah, he probably did throw. I'm just impressed with the fact that he bowled after having hernia, the day after having
something like that. Yeah, it was very quick, maybe 48 hours.
Yeah, I don't know that it was 24 hours, but I do remember the story being, that he had at least the same week. We can say that much. Yeah. So.
Ouch.
Yeah, but that just shows you what kind of guys these are.
Yeah.
I mean, Dan Lasko is an amazing technical bowler in his own right.
He really is.
I mean, he doesn't throw strikes like those other guys. But, I mean, if you need him to cut a pin, he's
the
right
guy.
up there.
He is the guy.
Yeah.
Especially the way his ball works. That, to be that accurate with that much hook on your ball, I don't know how you do it. But he does.
I mean, Hallis the same way.
Yeah.
Hallis, yeah. I mean, he's great too. Joe Smith was a great anchor for Academy 1, and he's bowling in the 3-hole on Academy 3.
There's something to be said for Hawk and for Lasko because, they've both bowled at a Central Park forever. And I think when you become accustomed to bowling in a house that is, I'm going to use the word legit. It's not a word that I like to use, but in the parlance of our times, it's going to work for this discussion because you earn everything you get. Hawk's in the Hall of Fame. Lasko is on the True Value Championship show. Actually was the winner of one of the best matches in the whole history, the 38 years or whatever it was, and almost threw a 4-bagger. So, yeah, they've both been around forever. And if you're used to those kind of conditions and used to the work that you have to put in to earn every pin, especially with the mechanics involved and the amount of break that those guys had. I mean, Hawk probably has like 6 boards worth of break, for crying out loud.
I wouldn't argue that.
Yeah, I agree.
But it works for him and it works for Lasko. And that's why they've been able to be around and be so effective. So hats off to those guys for sure.
Indeed, absolutely.
Friday Pro League Rundown.
What's up, everyone? This is FrankFace with the Friday Pro League Rundown. During Week 32, Malden 2, 0. Academy 2, 8. Lucky Strike Lanes 8, Academy 1, 0. Metro 2, 2. Riverwalk 6. Woburn 2, 0. Norwood 8. Central Park Lane 6, Academy 3, 2. Metro 1, 0. Ron's Ice Cream 8. 20th Century Lanes 2. Malden 1, 6. And Woburn 1 had the bye. This week's 400 series include John Boudreau at 400. Chris Sargent at 401. Dave Barber 408. Sean Baker with a 414 and Dave Chestercove with a 415. Chris Sargent had this week's high single at 167. Your standings are in first place, Lucky Strike Lanes 206, Academy 2 196, Central Park Lanes 191, Academy 3 173. Fifth place, 20th Century Lanes 160, Ron's Ice Cream at 153, Malden 1 145, Metro 2 140, and ninth place, Academy 1 at 137, Riverwalk at 126, Metro 1 107, and 12th place, Norwood at 105. Woburn 2 is 89, Malden 2 is 56, and Woburn 1 is 54. Next week's matchups are Woburn 1 at Riverwalk, Woburn 2 at Lucky Strike, Academy 2 at Metro 1, Ron's Ice Cream at Malden 2, Academy 1 at Academy 3, Norwood at Malden 1, Central Park Lanes at Metro 2, and 20th Century has the bye. This is the final week before position night. This is FrankFace, and that's Friday Pro League. All right, folks, that wraps up our editorial opinion from Alley Chat on the best Friday Night Pro League anchor bowler. That was Rich Lamoni, Kyle Bruce, and I am FrankFace. Come check us out on alleychat.frankface.net. You can send us a text message or leave us a voicemail at 617-863-CHAT. That's 617-863-2428. We're on Twitter now. We have our handle is Alley Chat with 2 T's, and you can also search for Alley Chat on iTunes to find all of our episodes. For my co-hosts, Kyle Bruce and Rich Lamoni, I'm FrankFace. Thanks for listening.